These are the new metal releases for the weekend of April 10th. It was a big weekend. I'm going to keep this introduction very brief. I have 11 releases for this episode. I'm not going to rank the album this time. It's going to be in the order I listen to them, and I'll give each one a score out of 10. Let's get into it. The first album I have is Melvins with Napalm Death with Savage Imperial Death March. This is not a split. It's a kind of merger or something like that. In other words, it's a 5-piece band featuring members of the Melvins, who are Buzz and Dale, and members of Napalm Death, Shane, Barney, and John. Kind of a weird album. Every song sounds different. The first song has a title that just sounds like something you would find on a Melvins album, and it's called Tossing Coins in the Fountain of Fuck. It's a weird sludge metal and grindcore song with death growls. It's kind of fun. There's a 9-minute track called Some Kind of Antichrist, which is more of an avant-garde sludge metal track. It sounded more like Melvins. There was also 9 Days of Rain, which has a weird post-punk vibe and some darker tones. There was one song I liked called Rip the God, which had more of that classic Melvin sound. It was a slower, more chunkier type of sound. And overall, it's a strange album. I probably won't go back to it that much, but it's interesting to check out. My final score is 7 out of 10. It's good if you're looking for something weird. Next is Melechesh with Sentinels of Shamash. Melechesh is a black metal band originated in Jerusalem, currently based in Amsterdam. The band's goal was to create a type of black metal incorporating extensive Middle Eastern influences, mainly based on Syrian or Mesopotamian and occult themes, both musically and lyrically. The band invented the title Mesopotamian metal or Sumerian black thrashing metal to best describe their type of metal, also sometimes referred to as Oriental metal. This was my first time listening to them, and they sounded more like blackened thrash. It's a short EP with 3 tracks. Opening track is called The Seventh Verdict. This one sounded like a typical blackened thrash song. It had fast rhythms and thrashy guitars, a very black metal style vocal. The next track is called In Shadows, in Light. This was more of that blackened speed metal. It had faster rhythms, some elements of death metal, and some fast tremolos. It was a very energetic track. And the final track was called Raptors of Ansu, more of an atmospheric, leaning more towards traditional black metal with more tremolos and blast beats. Overall, pretty good. I'll have to listen to it some more. Final score, 8 out of 10. This next one is a carryover from last January, but I want to include it. It's a short EP from a band called Syrion. The EP is called Symphony of Horror. This is their debut EP, released on January 23rd, 2026, through the label Dying Victims Production. The EP has 5 tracks, approximately 16 or 17 minutes, and Syrion plays old school heavy metal, maybe speed metal, a lot of new wave of British heavy metal influence. The sound is fast, energetic, it's raw, lots of galloping rhythms. A lot of it reminded me of early Iron Maiden. Songs have tight riffs, production reminiscent of 80s demos and underground recordings. It's for those of you who like simple heavy metal from back in the day. Song lyrics are about horror, the occult, dark fantasy, and key tracks include Symphony of Horror, which reminded me of Paul Di'Anno era Iron Maiden. Children of the Night sounded more like first wave black metal, similar to a band like Venom. Enchantress was more of a riff-heavy track, brought back that classic Iron Maiden sound. Glory Is No More sounded like classic heavy metal with galloping rhythms. The final track, Keeper of Souls, had big falsetto vocals, reminding me of early Merciful Fate. Overall, a fun, classic heavy metal EP. My score, 8.5 out of 10. Now for something completely different. I started by covering some extreme metal. Now I want to talk about something more radio-friendly. The band is called Fighter V, and the album is called Deja Vu. It's the 3rd studio album by Swiss melodic rock band Fighter V, and released on April 10, 2026 through Frontiers Music. It's my first time listening to the band. They play melodic hard rock, AOR, 80s arena rock. The album has a very retro 80s sound, something like Europe or Def Leppard or Journey. Opening track is called Raging Heartbeat, and it's what you expect. You have big and bright keyboards, you have distorted guitars, and big and loud vocals. The next song, Victory, was a little more radio-friendly with big choruses and very bright keyboards. And of course, there were ballads. For example, a song called Foolish Heart kind of reminds me of some late 80s Whitesnake or something, a similar band like that. It was a fun album. It brought back sounds of the 80s. It's not a heavy album. It's more of a melodic hard rock album, but worth covering in this video. So if you're looking for something like that, I think for me, it's a 7.5 out of 10. But again, it could go up if I spend more time with it. And now for something completely different. I have some death metal, and the first of a few death metal albums I will be covering in this video. The album is by the band Vomitory, and the album is called In Death Throes. Vomitory is a Swedish death metal band formed in 1989 by guitarist Urban Gustafsson and bassist Ronnie Olsen. This is the band's 10th album that's signed on Metal Blade Records. It's basically meat and potatoes death metal. It has a very sick and gory type of sound. This type of death metal makes you think of a zombie outbreak. Opening track Rapture in Rupture has a sound you would expect. Lots of blast beats, lots of tremolos, and deep guttural vocals. Sometimes they slow down a bit. For example, track number 4, Wrath Unbound, has some pretty cool guitar riffs. It reminded me of classic Slayer a little bit as well. And a song called 2.5 Men, which is kind of a funny song title. That one had more of a thrash metal type of sound. That was pretty cool, but still death metal. Overall, it's basic death metal. They're not doing anything out of the ordinary. So my score is going to be 8 out of 10. I have some more death metal with a new album from the band Immolation with Descent. This band is considered to be one of the pioneers of the New York death metal scene. They formed back in 1986. It's their 12th studio album, and I'll be honest with all of you, I never listened to this band before, but I have heard a lot of metal channels talk about them over the years. I think they're similar to a band like Morbid Angel, where it's that death metal, but more of that dark and evil sounding death metal that's very anti-religion and just has a very dark sound. The new album was released on April 10th through Nuclear Blast Records. The opening track is called These Vengeful Winds, and it's what you expect. Dark sounding guitar riffs, very evil sounding vocals. The band likes to put a lot of effort into their songwriting because when you listen to the songs, you can tell they go through lots of different changes. They might repeat a riff a couple of times and then shift gears and then slow down and then speed up and then play some different riffs. So you can tell they really take their songwriting process seriously. There was another track I thought that stood out called Attrition. Had more of a dense sound and a very interesting drum rhythm. This song has some groove metal elements, and I heard some pinch harmonics, and there were these bass guitar runs, so a lot going on in the songs. Overall, probably a little better than the Vomitory album, so I'll go with an 8.5 out of 10 on this one. I have some more death metal, but this time it's technical death metal with a new album by Archspire, Too Fast to Die. The band is from Canada. This is their 5th album, and they are on the Season of Mist label. Another band I never listened to before, but I know a lot of metal channels talk about them. I listened to this one early on Friday morning because I had to wake up very early to finish a work project. I had a very early deadline, and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I was tired, drinking coffee, trying to wake myself up, and I put on the Archspire album, and it was exactly what I needed. It's very fast, it's technical, it's heavy. It's not easy listening music, but if you give it a chance and pay attention to everything that's going on, you can really get into it. The opening track is called Liminal Cipher. Starts with a pretty soft, almost neoclassical intro, but then takes off with technical guitar riffs and fast drum beats. The vocals are kind of like deathcore vocals. You don't really understand what they're saying, but they're used as if they're just another instrument. So you have to go into this band knowing that the vocals are just like something completely different. So that's all I'll say. But the songs have jazzy interludes. There's a lot going on in every song. Kind of hard to pick out favorite tracks because with this type of music, you want to listen to it from front to back and experience it as a whole. But if I had to single one out, I'd be a track in the middle of the album called The Vessel. I like it. It gives the listener a break. It starts with a soft classical intro, but then it takes off with their classic sound. Overall, another very good album. I give this one 8.5 out of 10. It's the type of album you need to listen to when you're in the mood for it. Next is Adrift with Infinite Illumination. This was a surprise release. I knew it was coming out after reviewing one of the singles not too long ago, but I didn't think it was coming out this quickly. Adrift is a heavy metal band that started in 2015 in Arizona as a solo project by Nate Garrett before becoming a full band. It's also one of the first underground metal bands I ever reviewed on my channel back in 2020, and I have reviewed everything they have put out since then. You probably know that this will be their last album, as Nate Garrett's wife has been undergoing cancer treatments, and he decided to release one final album. The band plays a combination of doom metal and classic heavy metal. I thought their previous few albums were more traditional metal, but I feel this one was leaning more towards doom. The album opens with the title track, which starts with some soft acoustic guitars before getting heavier with big crushing guitar riffs and an old school retro doom sound. The next track is called Wind Within, and it has a big heavy Black Sabbath style guitar riffs. The entire album is really good. Just lots of guitar riffs with very crunchy, distorted sound. Most of the songs are fairly slow. Not too slow. They find that middle ground between doom and traditional heavy metal. Some riffs sound like Black Sabbath. Others sound more like 90s Metallica. Some songs have pretty cool interludes with keyboards mixed more in the background. They give them a haunting and eerie feel. Overall, it's a solid album. One of my favorites of the week. I'm going to give this one 9 out of 10. I think it's possibly one of their best albums as well. I still have a few more albums to talk about. The next few are from lesser known bands, and I have a few more popular bands, and I'm going to end with a single from a classic prog rock band. So stick around. Next is a thrash metal band called Nukem with The Grave Remains. They are an American thrash metal band that formed in California in 2012. This is their second full-length album. The album has 12 tracks. It is 49 minutes long. They have an old-school thrash metal sound reminiscent of the Bay Area thrash scene. Lots of galloping guitar rhythms and thrashing riffs. Vocals have a kind of crossover vibe like Municipal Waste. The opening track is called Policies of Hate, and it's just pure thrash metal, lots of speed and aggression. There's another track called Random Acts of Violence. It's a pretty cool song, and it has some audible bass guitar and more of a stop-start rhythm with tempo changes throughout. Another cool track is Tactics of Terror, which has a cool bass guitar intro, leads into a mid-paced galloping rhythm. Then there's Unconditional Surrender, which also features some prominent bass guitar. Pretty cool that this band makes sure the bass comes through. It almost gives them a punkier sound as well, but it's pure thrash metal. Very good album. My score, 8 out of 10. It's a great pick if you're looking for old school thrash metal. Next is Lord of the Lost with Opus Noir, Volume 3, the third album in the series. I think I listened to the first two that came out last year. They are a gothic and industrial band out of Germany. I think of them as a weird mix of Rammstein and Depeche Mode. I've been listening to them on and off over the past few years. They've been releasing a lot of albums lately. I think this is their 6th album since 2021. The album opens with Kill the Lights. It has some orchestral elements and dark synth. Sounds like a mix of symphonic metal and power metal, but with dark and theatrical elements. The next track, I Am a Diamond, has more electronic elements and sounded more like a darker, heavier version of Depeche Mode. It was pretty catchy with a chorus that sticks in your head. Then there was My Funeral, which sounded like an electronic metalcore song with a little Avenged Sevenfold with that haunted house type of vibe. Then they go more industrial on I Hate People, which has some fun lyrics. It's super cheesy, but fun and very catchy. There was also a track called Your Love is Colder Than Death, the kind of song title that you'd find on an Alice Cooper album. It has a dark synth-heavy vibe to it. Overall, it's a guilty pleasure type of album, very cheesy, kind of fun. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's for people who like horror rock and synth and that type of stuff. Next is VOIDCHASER with Interstellar I. They are a Canadian progressive metal band from Montreal. They formed in 2023. It's their second studio album. The band writes songs about technology, corruption, and personal struggles related to identity, love, and survival, all within a futuristic science fiction concept. The music is very dense, with high-energy choruses and memorable melodies. Every song tells a story. Musically, the album brings to mind Devin Townsend's Ziltoid the Omniscient and Dream Theater's Systematic Chaos, though the influences go back to the classics like Deep Purple's Machine Head and Black Sabbath Paranoid. The The album starts with an intro track called The Grand Design. It sets the scene, then moves into the first main track, Welcome to Terra Corp, big and powerful with theatrical vocals, catchy choruses, even some death growls. The next track, Initiation Day, sounded more like progressive metal, similar to Dream Theater with complex guitar rhythms, lots of time signature changes. After that was Hyper Converter featuring Charlie Griffiths, who's someone I don't really know who it is, but it's a heavier track. It reminded me of like Meshuggah with harsh vocals. Then it was Anything for Love, more electronic, more melodic, but overall pretty cool album. My score will be 7.5 out of 10. I think this one needs to grow on me a little more. Next is Inferi with their album Heaven Wept. This is an American technical death metal band from Nashville, Tennessee. They formed in 2006. This is their 7th studio album. Here's some cool trivia. According to guitarist Malcolm Pugh, the name comes from the Harry Potter series, which Inferi are corpses reanimated by Dark Wizard's curse. So that's pretty cool. The album's 8 tracks, runs 37 minutes. Opening track is called The Rapture of Dead Light, and right away there's a lot of speed and technical guitar riffs, low guttural vocals, time signature changes. Some parts of the song are very intense, others are a little more melodic. After that, Feed Me Your Fear. This has some weird avant-garde guitar riffs played over blast beats. I thought it was pretty cool. There was also an interlude, felt more atmospheric. Then it was Master of Nothing, had a lot of speed and aggression like the other tracks, with an interesting variety in the vocal style. The next track, Eternal Lies, sounded a little more straightforward, technical death metal with some thrash and death influences, though it doesn't really mean it's not really a complex song. I thought it was pretty good. I also liked the title track. Has a slow and chugging guitar riff, maybe a little easier to digest than Archspire. Not saying better, just easier to get into. They also reminded me of Cattle Decapitation. My final score, 8 out of 10. I think it's something I can really get into after a few more listens. I have one more single to talk about. It's from progressive rock band Yes. The single is called Aurora, from their upcoming album of the same name. It comes out on June 12th. I'll be doing a full review when it's out, so I'm not going to go into too many details yet. I want to talk about the song. The track is 7 minutes and 26 seconds. It starts with some piano, gets more theatrical as orchestral elements come in. Then the guitar and bass enter. It starts to sound like classic Yes. John Davison is on vocals. He still sounds great. Song has a funky bass line and some bright guitars. The chorus was catchy. A nice mix of guitars, bass, and keyboards. Steve Howe has a few guitar solos. Some use the clean guitar tone, others use more distortion. And the song takes a turn. After about 5 minutes, they bring back their classic early 70s sound. Overall, it's a decent track. I'm looking forward to this new album. I'm not going to rate this track, but I will be reviewing the album when it comes out. That's all for this week. Please like the video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. And last week's episode should be appearing right here.
That big block screaming loud, just a shadow in a cloud, heading down that dusty trace.